Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Julia O'Hara, Assistant Director for Communications with Housing and Residential Education, and we are here live to chat all about the room selection process and answer your questions all about that. The Fall Spring 21-22 room selection is right around the corner for current students ready to be assigned. Room selection begins Monday, February 22nd, and for new students ready to be assigned, it begins Wednesday, March 10th. So wherever you're watching, whether that's YouTube or Microsoft Teams, we're having a little trouble with Facebook Live tonight. And ask your questions in the comments on YouTube or here in the live event Q&A tab on Microsoft Teams. And Dave and I will answer your questions as they come in. And we also have some pre-planned questions too that we're going to go through, some frequently asked questions about room selection process. So speaking of Dave Kloiber, I'm going to send him live on the screen here. Dave Kloiber is our Associate Director for Operations and Outreach with Housing and Residential Education, and he knows all things about room selection. So thank you so much, Dave, for taking the time
that introduction.
Tonight. Of course.
So I'm David Kloiber. I'm the Associate Director for Operations and Outreach, and I'm here to really give you anything you need to know about room selection, what the buildings are going to be like next year. Ask as many questions as you want because now is a great time to get all your answers.
All right, awesome. So let's take a look at the questions that I have planned for you tonight. I'm also just checking the tabs on YouTube and our Q&A tab here to see if anybody is dropping any questions for us. Remember to ask your questions and we will be happy to answer them live on the show tonight. So the first question I have for you is more of an overview of the room selection dates, the beginning and end dates for current and then new students.
Sure. So the beginning date for current students will be on Monday, February 22nd. Beginning at 10 a.m. Now, each student will receive a email with what their date and time is to begin their selection process. And what that'll do is we can't have everybody log in at once. And so we assign a start time for people to be able to select their room. And that start time is based on when did you complete your housing application? Not necessarily all 4 steps, but when did you pay your fee? And if you have all your 4 steps paid, then we're going to get you into line essentially. And so you'll be notified what your line time is. As a matter of fact, 403 people this morning were notified about what their selection date and time was. And right now, all those dates are on the 22nd of February for our continuing students. And so if you're a continuing student and you didn't get that email, we encourage you, please go back into the housing portal, see what you might be missing in terms of your application, whether or not maybe you haven't even applied yet. Maybe that slipped your mind, or you haven't paid your application fee. But for most of our continuing students, the orientation has already been taken care of and you should be immunized at this point. And so immunization should be fine. And so you should have received that.
And Dave, while we're on the topic of current students, we do have a viewer here on Teams that I am assuming is a current student because they are asking if there's any way they can get their same room again. So that would fall under the current student room selection process. If you want to touch on that while you're talking about the current student process.
I will touch on that in just a moment. The end of our current room selection process will actually end on Friday the 26th. But don't worry, it will restart again on the 15th of March once our new students get a chance to select their room. Now, for the viewer who just asked the question, can I get my same room again? We had a room retention, what we call it, type process last year. And in all honesty, it wasn't really utilized very much. And so this year we went back to our old format, which is if your room is still available when it's your turn to select, you can go ahead and select your old room. But we've had a lot of changes to our rooms for this upcoming year. And I know there's a question later on about some of those changes are. And so I'll save the suspense until then. But If your same room is available when it's your turn to select, that's how you'll select it, but we don't have a process that's dedicated just to retaining your room.
Thanks, Dave, for touching on that. And going to the new student room selection process, I know that we did go over current. Did you also mention, I was reading some comments, but did you mention the new student process as well?
I did not mention that yet, but it's
Okay.
probably a good time to mention that. The new student process will actually begin on Wednesday, the 10th of March. And we're waiting that long because one of the things that you need to do as a new student is complete your registration for orientation. Now, in order to complete your registration for orientation, you also have to pay or have your admissions deposit waived. And so that tells us you're a committed student to the university, or at least at that point you're committed to the university, and that's why we'll let you select a room at that point. But registration doesn't open for orientation for our new students until Monday, the 8th of March. And so 2 days later, we'll open up room selection, and there'll be a big rush of students. We typically have, I don't know, 800 to 1,000 students register on the first day of orientation registration, just so they can get their spot in line for housing. And so does that mean you shouldn't make your payment right now for your application fee for housing? No, make that payment, because remember, that's the item that gets you into line. And so as long as you're making that payment now, you're kind of in this virtual line waiting to be actually put into line and for us to send you your start date and start time. And so we start about 75 people per time slot. I can't stress this one thing enough for our new students who are really eager to get their room. Please don't log in until it's your time. A couple years ago, we had over 1,000 people try to log in at once, and our system did not do well. And as a matter of fact, it crashed, and it took about 8 hours to get it back up and running smoothly. And so we encourage you, we give you a date and time. It's not a suggestion. You will not be able to select until your date and time has come. And so if you're going to go in and say, let me see if they're going to start me early, I promise you we won't. The time that we give you is the time that we gave you, and the computer is pretty smart. It's going to say, oh, it's not time yet. You can't select. You can use up resources, but you won't be able to select.
Thank you, Dave. So,
I guess the last thing I didn't say was, when does it all end? And that will be June 30th at midnight. And so we give you a lot of time to select your room, but also to change your room. And I know that's probably going to be a question later on tonight, but as of March 15th, we open up room selection for continuing and new students, and we also open up room change. The room change process. So let's say you selected a room and then you met someone over the summer that, oh, you're going to USF too? Wait, I like you a lot. I want to live in the same room with you, but you already selected a room. I already selected a room. You guys can go and do a room change and try to get into a room together up until June 30th.
Perfect. So now March 15th is when summer room selection begins as well, correct?
Nope, actually that's March 17th.
March 17th.
That would be the Wednesday, the 1 week after we open up room selection for new students. We open up room selection for summer for all students.
All students, whether you're current or new, that's when you have access to summer room selection. And going back to, we touched on it a little bit for those who are watching and don't know the steps to the application process. Can we go over what does a current student need to do to be totally ready to assign and get that email from your team saying when they'll have access to the room selection process? And what does a brand new student to the university incoming need to get done before they can get access to room selection?
Okay, I'll start with our continuing because their process comes up first. And so most of our continuing students should have, they all should have gone through orientation already because they're here. And that's a requirement in order to take classes. But most of them should also have their immunizations already approved and on file with the university. And so really all they'll need to do is apply and pay the $50 application fee. Once that's done, we're going to run this process probably at least once a day for the next week or so. And then as we get closer to room selection, we'll double check that people have either paid and or they are ready for assignment multiple times a day and get those emails out so that people are ready to select on the date and time that they are eligible. Now for our new students, you're new to the university, so you may not have had an opportunity yet to send in your immunization, so you want to apply for housing, you want to pay your housing application fee. Now, if you paid a $200 prepayment for admissions as let's say an incoming first time in college student or freshman, then that $200 may have paid your application fee. So you want to check your OASIS account for that. So you've applied, you've paid your fee, you need to make sure that your immunizations are in order and submitted to the university. Now, the university for housing, we're looking for 3 particular immunizations or tests that need to be completed. The first one is the TB vaccine. You can either show proof that you have it, or you can decline getting the shot, but you're going to acknowledge that on OASIS saying, I understand there's a shot, I don't want to take it. Go ahead.
Dave, a question about immunizations from a viewer, Kyla, who is watching on YouTube. Thank you, Kyla, for watching. Are there any important dates regarding immunization record submission for new students, or is it when you have it ready, get it in?
I would say the sooner the better.
Right.
Just because, especially if you're interested in housing, you don't want that to hold you up on March 8th if that's when you're going to register for orientation, because until your immunization records are all in, at least to satisfy the housing requirements, we won't let you select a room. And so I would say work on that now, because you don't know how long it might take for a doctor's office to complete whatever they need to do for you. Now, at least for the housing stuff, I would say get it done sooner rather than later. But if you go to OASIS, you may find out that your Florida shot record, if let's say you were at an institution here in Florida for a high school, they may have already transmitted your records to USF. And so you do want to check OASIS, because Florida Shots does load into our system, and it may already show that you have all the required immunizations, though sometimes meningitis is left off that list. And so you do want to go in and verify what is your status with immunizations. The housing software will tell you whether or not you're in compliance, but it won't tell you what you're missing. You're going to have to go to OASIS to find all that information out under your health screen in OASIS.
Perfect. So we were on immunizations when I interrupted you. Sorry. So
and then finally, after your immunizations, and there's no particular order with immunizations or orientation. You need to register for orientation. And so, like I said, that will not open until March 8th, which is a Monday.
Great. And then you will, after all of this is completed, you will receive an email as a new student of the time and the date of when you will be able to access room selection in the housing portal, correct?
Yep. The important thing is, where is that email going? It's going to go to your USF email account for sure. Now, if you have an admissions account on file and you're a new student, we're going to try and make sure it gets to that email as well, but it may have changed since you applied for admission to the university. So definitely make sure that you've already started looking at your USF email account.
Perfect. So what happens if you don't select during this time period? It gets to June 30th, and then in the beginning of August, you either want to change your room or you haven't selected one and need to. Will you have another opportunity to do this, or are you assigned a room?
So room selection will end on June 30th, and we do that for a variety of reasons, one of which is we want to make sure that those who haven't acted, we're going to start saying, okay, the week following June 30th, we're going to contact all the students who haven't selected but still have an active application, and either A, tell them what's missing on their application, or B, say, okay, room selection's over. Now we need you to tell us, where do you want to live? And if you don't tell us within a week, we're going to say, okay, you're not interested anymore, and we're going to cancel your application. You can always reinstate your application if you are interested later on. But what we're trying to do at this point is we're not we're trying not to assign you because you didn't tell us not to. We're not going to just assume because you have an application on file means you want a room. We're going to ask you, you need to tell us you now want a room if you haven't selected one already. And so it's more than just an application at this time. It's also an affirmation to say, yes, please assign me. And since I didn't select a room, this is where I'd like to be assigned. And we're going to ask you to give us 2 or 3 options of what you'd like. And we'll do the best we can in order to get you in there.
Thanks, Dave. We have some more questions coming in on YouTube. And the next one is regarding LLCs. So let's talk about LLCs for a minute. So LLC, when I say LLC, that stands for Living Learning Community, and that's a community on campus where students with the same major or academic area or interest all live together in a residential community. And those applications are currently open for incoming and current students. And that application closes June 15th. Is that correct, Dave?
That is correct.
Okay, June 15th is when that application closes. So it's definitely a great opportunity. If this is something you're interested in, I would highly suggest going to our website and checking out the different options that are available. And Luke is asking a particular question about choosing a roommate when you're in a living learning community. So can you talk about the room selection process and choosing a roommate process for living learning communities?
Sure. The first thing I would say is that by joining a living learning community, there is a good possibility that, well, with the exception of honors, you will be assigned a room in the LLC. You will not select a room. If you have selected a room outside of the LLC, you've agreed as part of the application to be moved to the LLC. And so if you change your mind after you've done an application and after you've been accepted, make sure you tell them that you've changed their mind, that you've changed your mind, so they don't move you and you don't lose the space that maybe you want to live in elsewhere outside of an LLC. But I know that all of you are applying and you all want to be in that LLC that you're applying for. So if you're in the Honors College, you're actually going to go and select your room. The reason that Honors College does that is because it is so big. It has over 300, almost 400 spaces reserved for it. And so the staff in the Honors College are like, you know what? The students know best where they want to live. We're going to let them select a room. But the next largest LLC is only 68 or so students. And so for those locations, the LLC will tell us, this is where I want this student to live. This is who I want them to live with. Now, on many of the LLC applications, they're going to ask you if you have a roommate preference. I know off the top of my head that engineering, women are, I believe BBC and ZAP, they all ask that question. And if you don't see that question on your LLC application, feel free to respond to the email to tell your LLC advisor or LLC coordinator, this is who I'd like to live with because they're in the LLC with me. That's a really important point. Your roommate will have to be in the LLC in order to live in the LLC with you. And so remember that if you have a friend who's in the BBC and you're in the engineering LLC, you can't live together because you're in separate LLC, which are in separate locations. And so you do want to make sure that the person you want to live with is also getting accepted to that program.
Great, thank you, Dave. Another question from a viewer, Carly, thanks for watching, Carly, is about the USF email that we talked about earlier. That is super important to be checking because that's where a lot of information from admissions and housing orientation will all be coming there. Carly's asking about where to go to check your USF email. I might be able to find a link here to provide to how to set up, but I'm not sure if you know off the top of your head what a good resource would be to get more information about that Outlook.
Sure. Sorry if you hear some noise in the background. My children are home. But to view your email, There's one of them right there. To view your email, you just go to My USF, which is, I got it. Sorry about that, everyone.
Hello.
That was my 9-year-old. He's cleaning, so I don't want to discourage him.
Right. No, keep it up.
But you can go right from the USF homepage. You can click on the My USF link right at the very top, along the top row of links, and it'll ask you to log in with your NetID and password. Your NetID and password should have been set up already if you're able to get to your email. If it hasn't been set up already, then any email that we're sending to you is already defaulted to with the email that you used for admissions. But once you set up your NetID and password, then we'll have your email address, which is basically your NetID at usf.edu. And then when you're in My USF, you can click on a link in the upper left corner, which I can't remember off the top of my head. So I'm going to go quickly to a web page and tell you in just a moment. I believe it's just email, but I'm going to double check. It is. You click the email link and it's going to take you right to your USF email account. And that'll be the online version. If you have Outlook, you can certainly go to it via Outlook, but you'll have to log into your USF Outlook account, not your private Outlook account.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dave. I knew you would know all things USF, so good question. Good question to ask Dave here. We have a couple of questions coming in about roommates, but before we get to that topic, I'm just going to go through a couple of questions that we posted or that we received on our Instagram account. So for those of you watching that are interested in following us on Instagram, we do have a Instagram account at USF Housing. So any account that you would be interested in following us on, we have Facebook, obviously, TikTok and Instagram, and all of that. The handle for that is at USF Housing. So we posted a question sticker up on USF Housing Instagram and received a lot of great questions from you all about the housing experience and room selection particularly. So I'm going to go through a couple of those questions that we did receive on Instagram. And then if you're interested in tuning into our Instagram either later this week or early next week, I'm not sure which one we're going to be doing it on, but we're definitely going to be answering all of the questions that came in. So let's get started with the first one that we received. Does the $200 admissions deposit go toward the housing application fee?
So yes, it'll go toward anything that goes into your account. And so typically the first charge that ever hits your account will be a housing charge, the housing application fee. And so if you have that $200 credit sitting in your account, yes, it would pay that $50 application fee. And if you have a summer application fee and a fall spring application fee, it'll pay both of them. Until it runs out of the $200, it'll pay whatever hits your account.
Perfect. And on that topic, can financial aid be applied to living on campus?
Financial aid can be applied to living on campus. And matter of fact, many of our students do use their financial aid to pay for housing. The important thing is you can't say, I have financial aid, so it'll cover the $50 later. Your financial aid will not come in until the end of the first week of classes. And so, there's a pattern as to how my financial aid money is applied. And so if you want to have a housing assignment, you're going to have to pay that $50 prior to waiting for your financial aid to come through. Now, if you're a student who has a estimated family contribution of, I believe it's now $1,500, but I'll have to double check. You can request what's called a application fee deferment. And so that's a form that you can do after you complete your housing application, where you can say, my family contribution is small, and so I'd like to have a deferment, which is basically I will pay you when my financial aid comes in. And so if you qualify, we will actually be able to to approve your deferment request, and we'll mark your application fee deferred until your money comes in, and then you'll be able to satisfy that application fee requirement. But yes, definitely you can use financial aid to pay for housing. Financial aid pays tuition first, then housing, then dining. So you want to make sure if you've got $6,000 in financial aid, but you've got $7,000 in tuition fees, it's not going to get to housing because you've run out of money by the time tuition is satisfied.
Got it. And we also will be talking all about financial aid in Housing Live, which starts April 28th. Dave, I think that you're on our first episode that night on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. We have campus partners from all different areas come on to the show for about an hour, and we talk about the USF experience. So be sure to mark your calendars. April 28th is when we start with that, and we'll have financial aid, a whole episode on that, so that we can answer all of your questions.
And I think the whole schedule will be available on our website, won't it?
That is correct. Yep, it
Excellent.
should be by the end of the month. So the next question before we get into roommate group information, do you have to be committed to USF to select your room?
So committed is an interesting word. Mm-hmm. In order to select a room, you have to register for orientation. In order to register for orientation, you have to pay the admissions deposit. So your commitment to select a room for the fall financially is admissions deposit, $50 application fee, and orientation registration, which I believe is $35. I'm not positive. You'll have to check orientation. So you're looking at $285 in order to select a room. Now, do we have students that spend $285, select a room, and then decide to go to another college later on? You bet. But they also know that I have the kind of room I want should USF be my college of choice. And 9 times out of 10, or really 99 times out of 100, they've already got their college of choice. It is USF. And so very rarely does that happen, that a student goes that far into the process and then decides USF is not for them. If that happens, usually it's because something else happened in their life and they can't leave home.
Got it. Thank you for that clarification. And then the last question before we get into roommates. Can you go over where single options will be available in the fall, spring term of 21-22?
So single options are primarily in our apartment style housing. And so Holly Apartments, Magnolia Apartments, Cypress Apartments. Cypress is restricted to non-first time in college students. So if you're a continuing student or you're a transfer, you can select Cypress Apartments. But for our incoming, what we traditionally call a freshman, you would not be able to select those apartments in your first year. Now, we do have single rooms in the Village. There are not a large number of those single rooms. Now, you may have heard people talk about Pinnacle is all singles. Not this year. When Pinnacle was built, they had a plan to put the second set of furniture in all those double rooms, and it's happening this fall. And so Pinnacle will no longer be all single rooms like it has been for the last 2 or 3 years. And so if you've got your heart set on a single in Pinnacle, there's only 6, I think, at this point, scheduled for the fall. And they're all real true singles. So they are smaller than the super single or the double room for one person. And so that goes very similar for all the other buildings in the Village. There are a handful of true single rooms, and I'll be honest, they'll be very hard to get. And so I would not put all your eggs in those baskets because A, it's very competitive to get a single room, and B, we try to assign many of our single rooms to students who have a disability and need a single room. And so we do have many of them on reserve in order to satisfy some of our ADA requests. Now, we do have a new option Pinnacle is no longer super singles. So we've said, okay, we know that super singles are popular. And so we made the decision to take Maple Hall B and half of Maple Hall A and make all those double rooms super singles for the fall and spring of next year. And so those rooms will be available for selection during room selection. And we also have rooms in Beta Hall and Castor Hall that will also be available as super singles. And that really covers where just about all of our singles are.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Now let's, well, actually, before we move on to roommates, we have a question from a viewer that is an incoming master's student for the fall, asking about the probability of getting a single room in the Magnolia Apartments as a graduate student.
That's an excellent question, because this year we are returning to a graduate-only location on campus. And so, matter of fact, in Magnolia Apartments Building F, we are looking to have 2 floors of graduate student-only housing. And so we will have graduate-only housing available. They are all single rooms. They are all apartment style. Now, it is not a single person apartment. It is a shared apartment, but you have your own bedroom and you share the kitchen, the 2 bathrooms, and the living room.
Perfect.
But we will have that available. In addition, for any of our folks out there who are married or have children, we will also have a family housing option available as well. In order to qualify, you'll need to complete a form ahead of time before you do an application, so we don't bill you if you don't qualify. But qualification essentially would be a marriage certificate or a birth certificate for someone who is now your dependent, basically your child. And it has to be a minor. It can't be a 20-year-old child.
And all of those, the graduate housing and family housing, that information will be up on the website soon so that you can learn more about those options and where they will be located. But you heard it here first about graduate housing in Magnolia F.
Literally, what's old is new, and it's new as of just a week or so ago, I think we were told about it. And so we're going to try and operationalize that over the next few weeks, and it will be available, and all that information will be available on our website and also on the housing portal.
Great. Okay, let's talk about roommate groups. So, what's a roommate group, and when and how can you form one? So let's start broad with this, and then I can get into some specifics from the viewers and some questions that I have prepared.
Okay, so roommate groups is a great way for people to ensure that they're going to have the roommate of their choice. And so, I mean, you can all log in at separate times and try to assign yourselves into the same unit, whether it be an apartment, a suite, a bedroom. But that doesn't always work out, because when one person's in, no one can select the rest of the unit. So our software and us, because we had to build the process, we've developed what's called the Roommate Group Manager. And in that process, you can send out you can become a group leader, and you can send out invitations to your friends who you want to live with. They do have to be the same gender. So I can't live with Julia. I can't even ask her to be my roommate because it just won't work. It has to be people who identify as the same gender. And so the system will know who is identified as what. And so when you send out an invitation, you can search by name or by U number. And I can actually show you a demo of what that looks like in a little while. I actually have one pulled up. And that invitation will then go out by email to the friends that you've invited. And then they can log into the housing portal and make the decision whether or not they want to accept your invitation and join your group. Now, when you have a roommate group, anybody in that group can actually log in and assign everybody else in that group. And you can only form a group with people who are ready to be assigned. And so they've done all the steps needed in order to get a room assignment.
So that's one of the questions that I have for you. If one of my roommates hasn't submitted the housing application or has a missing piece to it, can you still make a roommate group with the others that have?
You certainly can, but just remember that you can't select a room for them. So let's say there's 4 of you in the group, but only 3 of you have done what you want to do, and 1 of you is ready to select their room and they want to assign the rest of you. They can only assign up to 3 people because that 4th person is not in the room, and you run the risk of that person not getting that other spot because anybody can take it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a friend who's lagging behind, help them out. Tell them what they need to do to get their stuff done. The housing portal will tell you exactly what you need to do when you look at your housing application status. They'll even tell you where to contact the office to get help to get that resolved. If they don't have the $50, maybe you pool your money together and say, hey, you owe us, but we're going to pay your $50 application fee. I've seen people do it. And I've been doing this a long time.
To live with your besties.
That's right. Now, I do caution our new students. Just because someone's been your best friend for 10 years, you never live together. So think long and hard, because I've seen a lot of long friendships disappear in 3 weeks. And all of a sudden they hate each other. It's a nightmare. They're calling the RA trying to get help either with a roommate mediation or just I need to move. Because it just did not work out. Sometimes the best roommate pairing is that random roommate pairing. And apparently that's what they call it now, random. I got a random.
Randoms. I can attest to that. I am still friends with many a random roommate that I received throughout my college experience. And then, you know, I've had friends that I went into a roommate situation too. And the biggest piece of advice that I can give from experience is just communication and being open about expectations. So in the halls, there's something called a roommate agreement that you sign with your roommates just to make sure that you are on the same page, literally, about the expectations of what it's going to be like when quiet hours are. Well, with guests right now, with COVID, it's a little bit different, but that sort of thing, everything's outlined so that it's clear expectations and you're both able to agree on that. But I have a couple of questions from people here that do want to live with a specific friend. So Reggie joined us in the beginning of our broadcast, just moving up to that question now because we're on the topic. So thank you, Reggie, for your patience. Reggie's asking, my roommate is starting in summer and I'm starting in fall. Is it possible to still room together? If so, is there something different I would have to do?
So the answer is yes, you can live together. Summer and fall assignments are generally different. And even if your friend who starts in the summer happens to be in that very small percentage that's living in the same room for summer as they are for fall, there's no reason why you two can't select that room for fall together, and then he selects that room for summer later on. Because if you remember from the very beginning of the broadcast, fall room selection for our new students begins on the 10th of March. We don't start summer room selection until the 17th of March. The reason we do that is there's a larger, there's more people that need to select a room for fall and spring than there are for summer. But we give people a chance to select their fall assignment and then try to select their summer assignment to match. Because then, if they want to, they can take advantage of what's called break stay. And we can talk more about break stay probably later in the summer. It's not all that critical right now.
Right. And then a viewer, our attendee on our Teams event here, asked a question. As a returning student, is there any way to request a specific freshman as my roommate? If so, what would I need to do? So is it possible to form a roommate group with an incoming student if you are a current student?
Okay, so that is possible. You're just going to have to do a little bit of you have to do some things outside of the process. You'll have to contact the assignments office by emailing us at housing@usf.edu. We're going to need the information about your friend that wants to join the group, and we're going to need your friend to also email us as well. And what we can do is we can mark their orientation yes, so that you can assign them during continuing room selection with you. Because if we don't do that, they can't be assigned until the 8th, and you've already missed your slot to do room selection. And we want to make sure you guys can live together, because if you can form your roommate group, ideally that should be a group that works for everybody. And so that's our goal, is to make everything work for everybody. And so contact the housing office at housing@usf.edu. In writing from your USF email account is preferred. We'll need the U number information, and we'll need both the new student and the continuing student to say, I want to form this roommate group, so could you please mark my account Y for orientation. Now, application fee, and immunizations are still all on your new student friend. They need to take care of that on their own. We're only going to approve their orientation early. That's the only thing that we can do for them.
Perfect. So another question from a viewer, Raheem. My roommate is starting in fall 21, and I'm also starting in fall 21. Is it possible for us to stay in one room? Yep, we just went over the roommate group process. So Raheem, at the end of this broadcast, you can certainly go back to the beginning and hear more about that. But also I'm going to ask Dave to actually walk us through that in a quick little demo of how you go about inviting someone into a roommate group, accepting that roommate group, and then forming it completely.
So I'm ready to go when you guys are ready to go.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I want this one first.
Here we go. I will send this one live. All right. Got your screen up.
Here's the housing portal, and I'm logged in. I've already done the apply. When it's time for room selection, this assign button will be green, and it won't say, sorry, come back later. But if you want to start forming your roommate groups, you can start doing that now, as long as you're ready to assign. And so you'll want to look at my account, and then roommate group manager. So that will be also in green. And so I'm going to have to switch to another screen now, because I'm going to pretend like I clicked on that and it's going to work. So this might take a little bit of flipping around, Julia, so just be ready.
Okay, I'll put you back on here.
And I've got the next screen up.
Great. All right.
Okay, so here's what it would look like if I had clicked into the roommate group manager. There may have actually been a point where you can select, do you want to do for fall, or do you want to do for fall, spring, or for summer? But I selected fall, spring, here I am. And it says 2021-22 spring roommate group manager creator. So here we are. It tells you all the steps and what you need to do. I'm not going to read it to you. You all are coming to USF. You can all read this. But I'm going to demonstrate a little bit what it looks like at the bottom. And so we even put in there, what if I'm trying to invite someone from a different application? What if I want to bring in someone who's new? All of it's in here. And if you have questions, here's our email address. Feel free to contact us. That's a great way. And we answer those emails Monday through Friday all the time. So I want to create a group. So here I can go create group. And there I am, screen demo, and I'm going to be the leader. The leader doesn't mean all that much in terms of who can select a room. It just means that I'm the one who started it first. And so I can go here and click invite. And this is where you search for your person. So I happen to know a person named Fake Guy. I don't know his U number off the top of my head. Now, if the name is very unique, great. But if the name is fairly common, so if you want to find Mike Smith, there's going to be a lot of Mike Smiths in here. Or let's say your friend goes by a nickname, you're going to need to know their real first name. And so this person happens to kind of be real. This is actually one of my old staff members. And so there's Fake Guy, and I said, okay, great, I found him. Submit. I want to add Fake Guy. Oh no, what's this? It says the person you're attempting does not have an allowable application, or their application is not ready for assignment. So unfortunately, I can't add my friend Fake Guy because I happen to know that Fake Guy has not applied for housing.
He's got to step it up, Fake Guy.
Or he hasn't completed everything he has to do to apply for housing. So if I was able to invite Fake Guy to join, then he would show up here as someone who was invited. And then at the end, I can click submit, and it would send out an email to Fake Guy and anybody else I added to my group saying, hey, Screen Demo has invited you to join the roommate group. Please log into the portal and answer the invite. Now, I have another friend that I know has an application that I actually know she has an application, but you notice I said she. And I said earlier that you have to be the same gender. Submit. Oh, well, actually, let me do a search first to make sure that I find her. Oh, different gender, can't select her. So the system's smart. It's going to be able to know whether or not you can or can't do something. So you're not going to be able to fool it. So if I do find people, it'll send them that email. And when they log in, they're going to see that Screen Demo has a group, and they're going to have an accept or decline button. And they can either accept your invitation or decline your invitation. Now, the nice part about this system, especially for those of us who work in the housing office, are if you're going to drop out of the group, you have to click the decline. And everybody in the group will be told that you just dropped out. And so now all of a sudden, we're not the ones who have told to have to tell you, well, you didn't get assigned with your friend because your friend ghosted you. It's all out there in the open. They're going to be able to see it, and you're going to be able to see it, and everybody should be aware of what's going on. Does that answer everything about Roommate Manager?
It does. Thank you. Quick side question for you about the LLC application. Does the application for a LLC include the fall, spring, and summer?
No, it only includes fall and spring. Now,
okay.
there are a couple of special programs that we have that are summer, fall, spring. And those programs are the SSS program, the ACE program. So those two programs have a summer, fall, spring application that is available for those who want to live on, well, for SSS, you have to live on campus. That's part of the program. But for the ACE program, it's encouraged that you live on campus. It's encouraged that you live in with the cohort. So with the group of people in the ACE program. And that program runs from, I believe, check-in is July 7th and goes basically till May.
Got it. One other side question for you is about break stay. A viewer, Madhu Sadan, is asking, since I am an international student, I might not be able to return home during fall and spring breaks. Will I be able to live on campus during the breaks?
I am so happy you're asking that question.
This is the second great question that they've had.
Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes. However, you have to live in the right building. We don't have all 30 plus buildings open for the break. My suggestion is right now, we're still trying to firm up what buildings will be open for the break. But right now, it is Holly, Horizon, any of the Holly apartments, Horizon Hall, or Poplar Hall. But that could still change. But we'll have that information available on our website if and when it does change.
Just to clarify, I have to make sure I'm unmuted when I'm talking to you. If you would like to stay over the break for a break stay, you need to make sure that you are choosing a building that will be open during that time. So for example, this is actually the student that was asking about graduate student housing. So did you say Magnolia was on that list?
I did not, but Magnolia would, we're looking into that right now because that program is new. but my gut would be that Magnolia F and Magnolia G, where the family units would both be open as well.
Right. Okay. So either way, if you're in the graduate housing and we work it out that break stay applies to that housing, or if you're interested in living in any of those other buildings, you just need to make sure that you're living in a building that is open for break stay, because you cannot move into a break stay building.
The thing I would caution you is that break stay is additional fees based on the term rates. So an apartment single for next year is $4,450 per semester. You'll be paying a prorated fee for the X number of nights that you're in that room for the break from, let me see, I believe it'll be December 10th through January 8th. And so what is that, about 28, 29 nights?
Okay, and we're going to have those rates up by the end of the week where you can see what the nightly rate will be to apply to your break stay, to apply to your hall rate. That will also be up by the end of the week.
But unfortunately, it's all or nothing for break stay. You can't say, well, I want to stay for the 5 days after the fall, but I want to come back the 3 days before the spring. It doesn't work that way. You'd have to do a break stay in order to get all those nights.
Okay, and going back to roommate manager, Reggie is asking, since right now the roommate manager tool is closed, when can you start the roommate manager?
I am going to endeavor to do my best work to get it open tomorrow. Awesome.
Okay. And then another question before we jump into the demo of selecting your room to finish up. Viewer P. Henry is asking, what is SSS and ACE programs?
Okay. SSS is oh boy.
Student, here, I'll look it up.
Summer Success Program?
All three S's are a good guess. What does it take to qualify to be in that program while I look up what the acronym stands for? Student Support Services.
There you go, Student Support Services. It's actually a grant-funded program. And if you qualify, you are asked if you'd be interested in joining the program at the time of admission. And so it's not a program that you really apply for. It's a program that the admissions folks say, hey, this person would be a good candidate. Let's forward them to the program for consideration. And so they have about 103 people a year that are in that program.
And ACE program?
The ACE program is the Academic Cultural Enrichment Program. Which is a summer program that starts a little bit later in the summer. It really caters to, especially to our students from the north who don't get out of high school till late June. And so sometimes they're graduating after summer B begins. And so this program starts in almost in mid-July, and it involves I think a 4 or 5 week class load for the summer, followed up with a 1 week experiential learning opportunity. Pre-COVID, they would be taking trips to South America, to Canada, to around the US to do their experiential learning. I don't know what it will look like this summer. However, in the future, hopefully it'll go back to its regular format. And then after that experiential learning, it's the week before or the weekend before the residence halls open, and the students would just stay in their room, enjoy a few days off, go home if they want to visit their folks or their family, or just enjoy the sun and the beach in the area, and then start their fall term a week later.
Perfect. And I'm including those links on the YouTube live stream. So if anyone watching is interested in learning about these programs, they can jump on those websites to learn more. So, Dave, I know that we have till 7 o'clock tonight is what we promoted the event. If you have a couple extra minutes to just do a quick demo of what room selection will look like for all those watching, especially new students who haven't done this before, I'm sure it would be great for them to be able to see a sneak peek of what they can expect when they sign on in just a short amount of time. It's coming up soon.
Sure, I'm willing to give it a shot.
Okay, let me get your screen. Is this the screen that you'd like to share, or will there be a different browser?
There'll be a different one.
Okay.
So if you want to switch to me, then I'll switch the browser over, and then that way we won't get a black screen. I don't know if that's what happened last time.
It does. It says that the event will be right back. So I'll wait till you're all ready to go with your browser. And then Madhu Sadan is asking, my application is almost complete. Only immunization hold has to be lifted, which might take more than March 10th. Will I still be able to select a room? Yes, you will. You'll just, once everything is all ready to go and you have, you're eligible to select a room, you'll be able to sign on to room selection up until June 30th and participate in room selection.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I'm sending it live now.
Excellent. So does everybody see room selection?
I see it.
Okay, great. So there's a lot of instruction in here. It tells you about special populations. So I don't have an honors community application on file. I'm not in the SSS program. I'm not in the ACE program. But if I were in one of those, I would click this button to select my room. But since I'm not in those programs, it's going to tell me here's all the information about room selection. And it's going to say, okay, you want to begin? Let's begin. So hopefully I've got all the links working, because I'll be honest, this is the first test of the, oh, looks like it's working. Here's my application status. It's going to tell me this is where you are. I am ready to be assigned. And you know what? I don't think I gave myself a lottery number. Let's hope this works. If it doesn't, I may have to go to another screen.
No worries.
So I encourage you always check. If I had roommate groups, I could go here to check them just to make sure everything's set. It says here, I cannot participate in this date and time because it's too early. And so lo and behold, I can't participate using this screen, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Just because I think I have a special link that says it'll work for me. And it didn't work. Okay. So let me switch to a different screen. Don't you love technology, everyone? You can still see everything, right?
Yes, I did. I changed it over to you just in case you needed to change the browser so we didn't get a blank screen there. There was a question on Teams as we switch over about is there going to be 3 room options? I'm not sure if we're talking about the 3 different hall styles that are on campus. So there is a traditional hall style, there is a suite hall style, and then there is an apartment style. And I've responded to your question here on Teams with a link to explore those different options. But as far as 3 roommates in one room, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but we do not offer that option for fall spring in any of the halls.
We do.
Okay. Is it in COSO or am I?
In one bedroom, we do offer it in Beta Hall.
Beta. Okay.
What I'm going to have to do, I really wanted to make this live. Let me see if there's a way I can fool the system.
If it's not possible tonight, what I can do is drop a link to a previous spring room selection demo that we did. We did a lot of them that shows the process pretty thoroughly. Of course, the dates are going to be very different. So when you take a look at the video, if I end up sharing it instead, just keep in mind that it will be for the fall, spring, or summer 21, 22, if that's what you're looking to select a
Let
room
me
for.
see if I can do one other option, and it's just going to take me a moment. Are there any other questions while I'm working on this?
Let's
Because I can
see.
multitask.
Okay, yeah, there were some that came in as we talked about that. Stephanie is asking on YouTube about a transfer session by any chance. Now, Stephanie, all of the information that we talk about tonight when it comes to new students, that is going to apply to transfer students. Is that correct, Dave?
Yes, that is.
Okay, so we actually do have another room selection Q&A that's scheduled, and hopefully will be on Facebook as well next time. We were experiencing some technical difficulties with Facebook, but I'm glad that our YouTube is working. Let's see when this next one is scheduled. March 8th. So new students, that includes transfer students, March 8th here on Teams, Facebook, and YouTube. We will do another live with Dave to talk about the specifics for new student room selection. So I definitely invite you, Stephanie, to join us then if you have any further questions about room selection. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always email our team at housing@usf.edu or call us as well at 813-974-0001. Let's see here.
I'm trying to pull up a spring room selection process to see if we can make that work for us.
I'll take a look at some other questions. 2 questions came in about Honors LLC. The same question actually from Kyla and Lauren. Actually 2 separate questions, but about the Honors LLC. Kyla's asking, does the Honors LLC room selection work the same as regular student room selection?
Yes, it does. The only difference is you have much less rooms to choose from because the honors program isn't as big. Now, the honors program is located in Juniper Hall, which are all suite style. And essentially the suites are in that building are primarily 2 double rooms that share a bathroom in between.
Great. And then the next question about honors is if the honors residence hall fills up fast, or are they guaranteed a spot if they are in the honors program?
If they're accepting you into the honors program, you should be able to get into the honors program. And so I don't see that being an issue.
Perfect. Those are the questions we're up to date on right now on both YouTube. Oh, right when I said that, some more questions came through. Oh, another good question came back as a follow-up from that three people in one room option. Are there 3 singles instead of 4? So the suite is 2 students on one side, 2 on the other, but in apartment style, there are apartment styles that offer single rooms and 3 of them sharing, I believe, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are 3 single options in an apartment style.
Yes, there are 3. Unfortunately, I can't get the room selection to work. We have it pretty much set up for a week and a half from now. There are 3 single bedrooms in an apartment in Magnolia Apartments and in Kosov Apartments.
Perfect.
And the thing to know about Magnolia Apartments is it is 7. Well, with that style housing, there are 6 buildings with that style housing. There are only about 3 or 4 apartments that are 3-bedroom in each of those buildings, but they definitely are available. In Kosov, probably about, I'm going to guess that there's probably anywhere from 4 to 8 of that style in Kosov Hall.
Great. So what I'm going to do is take our room selection demo from last time, drop it in the YouTube chat as well as the Teams chat here. And yes, for the viewer that's watching or on Teams, the Magnolia style will have the 3 single room option for 3 sisters who would like to share an apartment style. I would suggest that you get everything you need done with your housing application as soon as possible so that you have the best chance to select that room for all three of you as a leader of a roommate group.
I just realized that I could probably do a partial demonstration.
Okay, it's up to you, Dave,
like.
because I know that we're over time here. So I can happily share the demo and then from last time, and then we can make sure that we have it prepared for next week. Or if you want to share what you have, we can do that too.
Just give me a moment to bring it up, and then I think I will try and share what I have, because I definitely want people to understand the basic functionality of what we're looking at when we're talking about room selection. And what it really comes down to is there are a number of pages prior to you actually getting to the part where you select your room. But we want to make sure that that you know how to search the available beds and so on. And so if you want to, the screen that I have showing now is a screen that will work.
Okay, I'll send it live.
Probably going to want to make this a little bit smaller, so let me do that. Okay, and so that's not there. Okay, we can search by room type. So there are a lot of room types here. You won't see them all because you won't see buildings that aren't available. But if you want a search by a particular room type, you could, or an alias. Do you want a particular type of unit, whether it's an apartment, a suite, or a traditional? You can, actually, this doesn't have everything I want in it. But you can also select by, does it have a kitchen? What's the bathroom? Is it a private bath? Is it a shared bath? Or is it a communal bath? So it's a bath down the hall. Those are some of the options that you'll be able to select for. And those will be all under here. And once you find what you want, you can click search. So I'm just going to do, we got a question about, let's say, I want a corner. That's a bad spot because that's, I know about the corner room in Poplar and I want to find one. So I can corner double room, search, and it's going to tell me over here, these are all the available corner double rooms. And so we can refine the search down there. One of the nice parts is we can show it as a map. So you have two options. You can see it as a list or you can see it as a map. And here's a map of Poplar Hall. Now let's say I didn't want to start at Poplar. I wanted to start at the campus level. Here's the campus map. Anywhere where there's green is an available room. So I'm going to cancel that search. And so there are a lot of beds available for me at the University of South Florida. We really don't have that many beds. We have some that are in our system that aren't eligible for selection. But anywhere where there's a box with a green edge, you can select a room. And so I'm looking at, we're going to have a nice new campus map that was developed by one of Julia's very talented staff members. And that'll be uploaded to the software before room selection begins. But I'll go back down because we had a student who was very interested in the possibility of grad housing, which is going to be in Mag F. And so any floor of Magnolia that has a green box is available. So I'll click on the second floor. Why not? And then it's going to show me the floor plan for the entire floor. And anywhere there's a green bed. Now, green beds are everywhere because no one selected a room yet. And so, of course, I got my pick of the litter because I'm number one. But anywhere there's a green bed, I could select a room. But maybe I want to learn a little bit more about the space before I select it. So I could hover over the bed and I can see some information right there. But the best place to find more information about the room itself is to go to the table display. And there I can say, okay, here's a room. expand it a little bit, tells me a little bit about the room. It's this much for the fall, this much for the spring. I want to learn a little bit more about the entire unit, so I can click on that link, and it's going to say, okay, it's MAGF 201A is a single room. Its alias is Magnolia Single. Use is for graduate students, and it's a female room. Well, if I tried to pick it and I was not female, it won't let me. And matter of fact, it shouldn't even show up, but because I'm using a special field for us to just do room changes, it shows up because I'm not going to put a male into a female apartment. If I want to know more about the apartment itself, I can click on the apartment link, and there's some descriptions there. It'll also tell you if there's a kitchen and so on in the apartment, but this particular view doesn't have it. And so once I decide I want it, I can click on lock this room, and it's going to open up another screen. It's going to say, okay, here's the information. We encourage you over and over again, please double check all the information. And specifically this information, can I afford the space? Because if you haven't had the conversation with the folks who are helping you pay for your room, you may want to have that conversation before you select the room, because I talked to a number of parents that say that they have to pick the most expensive room you have on campus. And the student says, well, yes, because that's what I want. And the parent's like, but I can't afford it. And so then the student ends up having to do a room change. You're only going to have 5 minutes to decide if this is where you want. Now, if you had roommates, you'll see multiple drop downs here. So right now, I only see screen demo. That's the only person I can assign. But if I had roommates, I would see each roommate here under each bed, and it would then say, who do you want to put in each bed? And so you would put screen demo here. I could put fake guy in the B room. I could put screen tests in the C room. And those are my roommates. And then I can click at the very bottom, continue. It's going to, I'll just delete my assignment. It's going to say, okay, if you're in the honors program, it's going to say, okay, now you need to add a plan type, and you only got one you can choose because the honors program has a fee associated with the LLC as well. And so you would add your LLC plans, you click continue, and then it's going to say, okay, here's your summary of what you've selected. If you're good with all that, click submit, and then the room is yours. And if you selected for other people, the room is theirs as well. And that's basically how it goes. I'm not going to assign myself because I don't want to have to delete it later. And
they'll get that notification, your roommate group, if you have selected on their behalf in the roommate group.
But perfect. Definitely the demo that we had from the spring will show more information. And the really important thing is one of the pages before you actually get to the selection section, it's going to give you a lot of pointers on what to do and what to look for. And so I encourage you, please, please, please read those before you go in, because you saw that I had every bed available to me. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be the case when you go in as a student, because you're not going to see both genders. You're only going to see the genders that you qualify for. So if you're male, you're only going to see male beds. If you're female, you're only going to see female beds. If you see a bed, you also see undetermined beds. So we haven't set a gender to it. However, the first person that goes in there of a particular gender then sets it for the rest of the whole unit, whether it's an apartment or a suite, or if it's a traditional, the room. In addition, we have some rooms that are set aside for another program. And so that bed may not show up in the double room, but it's still a double room. Just because it doesn't show two bed icons there doesn't mean it isn't a double room. That's why we say, please make sure you're checking. Is it a double room? Okay, it's going to have two people in it.
Right.
You just don't know who the other person is right now.
And on that, I mean, with room types, a question from April on YouTube. What's the difference between a corner room and a non-corner room? And why would a person pick one over the other?
Okay. On the way that Juniper and Poplar are created, it is a group of rooms that all come around a living area, kind of like a living room with a TV and tables and couches. And there are anywhere from two to three on each floor in each building. Poplar has 3 on each floor generally, and Juniper has 2. But in one of the corners, there'll be a room that does not share the bathroom with another bedroom. And we call that a corner double. And it is highly desirable because you're only sharing that bathroom with your roommate. And remember that at USF, if you're in a traditional style room, we clean your bathroom down the hall every day. If you're in a suite style room, we clean your bathroom once a week. If you're in an apartment, you clean the bathroom as often as you can. And we encourage you to clean your bathroom as often as you can. And so that's the corner double. There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to send this live. This is a drawing that we put together because someone actually asked about this today on Facebook. So what Dave was talking about is just the room 1 and room 2 above and to the side of it. That's what a typical suite looks like. So 2 people sharing room 1, 2 people sharing room 2, and then sharing that bathroom in the middle. Corner room, 2 people, 1 bathroom. It is smaller. You have less space than you would, but in a typical suite. But then you have the more privacy of. Is it not? Is it?
It's actually because the depth is the same. It's just that you actually. A lot of students feel it's a little bit larger because they have that hallway along the bathroom.
True.
And that gives it the appearance of being a little bit larger. But the big advantage is you're not sharing the bathroom with somebody else.
True. Okay, and then another great question from a viewer. If one of my roommates leaves out in a single room occupation apartment, would you need to find a new roommate to fill that? Would it be the student's responsibility, or would they be moved to a different residential area?
No, it is our responsibility to fill it. And the big, especially in apartments, each bedroom is typically separate, and so the doors would be locked, and the rest of the room, the folks in that apartment would just live on as they normally would until they got another roommate. That could happen during the semester, it could happen the following semester, or it could never happen. But it really just depends on what the demand is at the time, what's going on around campus. So right now we're not allowing room changes due to our COVID policies and procedures. In a regular year, we allow room changes from about the 3rd week of the term until about the 10th or 13th week of the term. And so if you have a vacancy in your unit, whether it's in your bedroom or it's in your suite or it's in your apartment, you could get a roommate at any time. And we try to make sure that you're notified, but sometimes it's so quick. There may have been a situation where we had to move a student due to a maintenance concern or something, and you had the only available space, so we had to move them quickly. You may not get a lot of notice, but we're working on trying to improve that process so that you will get notice at least a little bit in advance, as best we can.
Perfect. Last question I have for you, Dave. And then we will wrap. I appreciate your extra time so much. It's just a question that we've touched on already from someone on Teams. How do you get an appointment for room selection, or do I get an email automatically on that day?
You will get an email. Ideally, you'll get it before it's your day to select, because we want you to be able to plan ahead. But if you don't finish finish all the steps that you need to finish until the day of, you won't get one until the day you complete it. Right now, we've already sent out over 400 emails telling students this is your date and time to select for continuing room selection. We'll start the new ones on March 8th, not May, March 8th. Once the orientation registrations start coming in, and we're going to run that process continuously through March 8th, March 9th, because we know that there are going to be a lot of students coming through registration, which is going to complete what they need to do for their housing application to make it ready for assignment and to be able to achieve getting that email with their selection date and time. After the 15th, don't expect an email. Once your application is ready to assign, and you'll see a report like I showed earlier when you went into room selection, it's going to tell you if you're missing anything. Or you could check that on your housing portal under the application section, under application status. But once your application is ready for assignment and it's after March 15th, you can just go in and assign yourself a room.
Great. Now, Dave, we've gone through a lot of awesome questions from our viewers. I'm not sure what topics we haven't talked about, but is there anything to end off that you would like to leave off as a reminder or recommendation?
So there's a few actually, and I've already touched on a lot of them during the session, but I want to kind of summarize them all. Room selection, it can be a little nerve-wracking. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have a plan, especially if you've got a group of roommates that you want to live with. Have a plan as a plan of attack. This is the one we really want, but if we can't get that, what are we going to select next? And what's your fallback? And so have a few fallbacks, because, you know, especially if you're an individual who says, you know what, I want a suite with my own bathroom. Well, there aren't a lot of those. Especially for a single room with its own bath, there are not a lot of those, if there are going to be any during room selection. And so you need to have a few backup plans in mind. You also need to make sure that whatever you're selecting is going to fit in your budget. Not everybody's got a limitless pocket. And I know when I was a student, I had to pick what I could afford. I couldn't afford the single room. And so I had a double room. I had a roommate all 4 years I was in college. And so you have to keep aware of what your budget is. And so make sure you're having that conversation. And then once you do select a room, keep an eye on your room, because if you didn't go in with people, you're going to start getting those randoms we talked about. And we want you to reach out to those people and say, hello, I'm so and such. Let's converse a little bit, because you're going to be able to look up, at least get their email address. We're not going to give you their phone number, but if they permitted it, we're going to give you their name and their email address. And you can see that under your assignments information in the portal. And throughout the summer, reach out to them, get to know them, decide who's going to bring what, because you don't need 2 refrigerators, 2 TVs, 2 of this, 2 of that, 2 of that in your room, because eventually you're going to run out of space for yourselves. And so you definitely want to have your conversations with your roommates. And like Julia said earlier, you want to be open. It can't be your way or the highway. If that's the way you're going to be with your roommates, you better find a single room. Because you're not going to have a good experience if you can't compromise. Compromise is critical to a good roommate pairing.
That's absolutely true, Dave. I agree with you there.
And about 98% of all of our randoms become very good friends. And it's a little intimidating at first, but that's part of the whole college experience, is meeting new people, meeting people that you never thought you'd ever be a friend with. And you're not going to meet just people like yourselves. You're going to meet people that are completely different, and it's a great thing, because you're going to learn about different things and different ideas and different cultures, and just enjoy it, embrace it, and enjoy being a bull.
Absolutely. It's the best place to be here at USF on campus, for sure. So as we wrap up, just a few reminders for everyone watching. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. If you have any questions, you can reach out to our team via email at housing@usf.edu. You can call us Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. also at 813-974-0001. And as a reminder, as we just talked about, make sure that you have all your required items completed to select your room beginning February 22nd if you're a current student, or March 10th if you're a new student. Be sure to register for orientation on March 8th if you are a new incoming student. And thank you, Dave, for joining us this evening and staying a little bit longer to go over all of these great questions. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And until next time, go Bulls!